Hi there. This is now lesson 4 and this is the vocal technique part of lesson 4. I promised to start talking about the resonance in this lesson. Now what I'd like to do is to start introducing you to articulatory phonetics. This simply means the science of producing sounds with your head and all the organs of articulation. And I promise you that by learning a bit more about the organs of speech, and I would say the organs of singing, and about the mechanics of articulating, it is going to help you in your singing career. Now at the same time, up to now we've been using symbols to represent sounds from what is called the orthographic system, the system of spelling. But what I'd like to do now is for us to use symbols from the International Phonetic Alphabet. This, I hope, will be fun rather than a blow on the head or something very, very technical. This will allow us to write down the symbol representing a particular sound, so that when we do our vocal warm-ups and our vocalizing, we can use those symbols to represent the sound that we'd like to make. Okay, so first things first. Where does the sound of your voice come from? As we said earlier, down here in this little bony box called the larynx, or the Adam's apple, you have two fibrous bands that when they come together to resist the airflow, they produce sound. But the sound of your voice comes when that little tiny sound from the vocal cords is amplified in the spaces above the vocal cords. So here is a picture of the vocal tract, and above the vocal cords we have a space that's called the pharyngeal cavity, and that stretches up the back of the throat. And then we have the oral cavity, the mouth, and then above that we have the nose, the nasal cavity. And it's thanks to those spaces that you have a voice. If we cut your head off and your vocal cords were working, horrible thought, we would hear nothing. It is the amplification of the sound in those spaces up here that produces sound. Now, inside that cavity, inside that vocal tract, there are various organs, the organs of speech. And we'll just have a little quick tour and identify those various organs. At the bottom we have the vocal cords, and they're either open or closed to resist the air and to produce sound, which we turn into speech. Next we have the tongue, this huge muscle, very supple, very agile, that articulates and produces speech. Then up here we have the velum, or the soft palate as it's called, which directs the air one way or the other. If it's closed against the back of the throat, the air comes through the mouth. If it's open, air can go through the nose and we can make what we call nasal sounds. Then in front of the soft palate we have the hard palate. You can see the bone inside there. And then in front of the hard palate we have a ridge. These are the gums behind the teeth, called the alveolar ridge. Then we have the teeth, and then in front of that we have the lips. And then of course we have the nose, the nasal passages, nostrils. You can also see at the bottom there, you can see the passage that goes down into the stomach, called the esophagus. And then the pipe that goes down into the lungs, called the trachea in English, or trachea if it used the American pronunciation, which is where the air goes in to the lungs. So that is a quick tour of the vocal tract, and as I said, on the website there are some detailed lessons on articulation. But now we want to go ahead and make some sounds. So the first sound we're going to work on is the nasal consonant m, as in the hum. Mm. The idea of this is to feel the amplification of the sound up in your head. It's very important to have this feeling, because this part of the vocal resonance should always be present, in fact. So this is why we start high and then we'll gradually work down. But I want us to follow the hum with a nice open vowel. So here you can see how the m is formed in the mouth. The tongue is nice and low. The soft palate is open, opens the space to the nose. And you can see the air will come through the nose. Mm. If you pinch your nose, the sound goes. And then we'll open that to ah. And you can see how that is formed. Ah. It's a back vowel. The tongue is, the back of the tongue is nice and low. Ah. And there's a lot of space. It's coming through to the mouth. The soft palate at the back is raised and is against the back of the throat. It is not entirely closed, and so there is some linking of resonance, and there's some amplification of the sound still up in the nasal passages, but there's not a flow of air through the nose, giving a nasal sound. So let's try that.